If you're watching this, you're likely coming from the Kurzgesagt video, "We will fix climate change." If not, I suggest you go watch it now and then return to this video. The video explains well why the doom and gloom prophecies about climate change are overstated, but that it's still a big issue that we need to tackle urgently. So what can we, as individuals, do to reduce the worst effects of climate change? Many of us would think of actions such as buying local or eating organic GMO-free foods, but these aren't as effective as they may seem. But instead of explaining these misconceptions in detail, I'll just refer to the following great resources. Regarding buying local, I suggest the very entertaining video "Grown in Argentina, Packed in Thailand" by Brit Monkey, or our World and Data's article "Focus on what you eat, not on whether your food is local." Regarding eating organic and GMO, I suggest "Is organic really better? Healthy food or trendy scam?" and "Are GMOs good or bad? Genetic engineering and our food," also by Kurzgesagt. Other actions, such as using public transport instead of travelling by car or plane, or not eating cow's meat, are also popular. A typical passenger vehicle emits about 4 metric tonnes of carbon dioxide each year. A round trip from London to San Francisco emits about 5.5 tonnes of CO2 equivalent per person, and a kilogram of beef produces 60 kilos of CO2 equivalent. So these actions definitely help, and I don't want to dissuade anyone from doing them. But what if I told you that you can have a much bigger impact on climate change with much less effort? One way is choosing a career that has a big positive impact on the climate. An organisation called 80,000 Hours gives advice on how you can use your career to help solve the world's biggest problems, including but not limited to climate change. They also have a job board where you can find highly impactful jobs, some of which are climate organisations or companies working on creating alternatives to meat. Another way is through political activism. Governments have a huge impact on future emissions. We need to make sure that countries don't look only at their own emissions, but also on how they can impact emissions globally.
I think one interesting example for this is the success of solar, which has been driven by countries like Germany, for example, which has almost not reduced emissions in Germany itself, but had transformative effects globally speaking. That's an example where the global effect is much, much larger than the local effect, and those are kind of the examples that we have to repeat to kind of really make a dent in global emissions. The most important thing that you can do as an individual in a high-income country is political engagement. This can be both direct political activism, asking for better climate policy or putting more pressure, and also can be donations as a kind of political tools, or donations to highly effective climate charities. Both of these you can have much more impact than with changing your lifestyle, because changing your lifestyle can at most reduce emissions by something like 5 tonnes a year.
For perspective, Europeans emit around 7 tonnes of CO2 per person, and Americans around 15 tonnes. Kurzgesagt also talks in great depth about political activism in their video called "Can You Fix Climate Change?" Johannes works at Founders Pledge, an organisation that inspires entrepreneurs to make a commitment to donate a portion of their personal proceeds to charity when they sell their business. Founders, co-founders and CEOs of various companies have made this commitment. They have a dedicated team that does in-depth research on charities that have the biggest impact per dollar donated. Johannes is their leading climate scientist and has researched multiple climate organisations. So which ones are actually effective? Which ones give you the most bang for your buck? The top recommendation of Founders Pledge is a US organisation, Clean Air Task Force, which aims to influence policymakers. They advocate for clean air measures and innovation in neglected, low-carbon technologies. They mostly focus on US policy, but recently started advocating in other parts of the world too. Much of their clean air work includes advocating for regulations of fossil fuel-emitting infrastructure and advising on methane regulation development. A rough conservative estimate of the cost of avoiding 1 tonne of CO2 by donating to the Clean Air Task Force is just $1. Remember, Europeans emit roughly 7 tonnes of CO2 per person, and for Americans it's 15 tonnes. Johannes' team at Founders Pledge estimate that the charity Carbon 180 is also highly effective. They focus on ways to suck carbon out of the atmosphere, a process known as carbon capture and storage. Terra Praxis, another recommended charity, researches and advocates for more energy innovation. They focus particularly on advanced nuclear energy. New nuclear reactors will be much safer and potentially cheaper than already existing ones. They are already quite safe, and just like wind and solar, emit little to no greenhouse gases. Of course, Kurzgesagt has a video on that too. Since the end of 2021, Founders Pledge also recommends a rather young and European charity. Future Cleantech Architects is a climate think tank from Germany, which advocates for clean climate technologies and aims to inform European policymakers about how to decarbonise sectors like cement or steel. Instead of trying to pick between these charities separately, you can also donate to the Founders Pledge Climate Fund. You don't need to be an entrepreneur for this or commit to anything. Most of the money in the past has gone to the Clean Air Task Force, but they always stay on top of the latest research so that your dollar can do the most good. Links to this fund and all of the individual charities will be in the comments and description below. Of course, there's a ton of climate NGOs worldwide, so if you're professionally in a position to do so, you can also try and research further organisations which work on the best ways to help the climate. Unfortunately, right now there are a lot of popular organisations and actions that are immensely popular without having as big of an impact. For example, planting trees or other carbon offsetting measures aren't really that effective in comparison. Offsets are typically about direct interventions, whereas the world as a whole is spending billions on climate, and this is spending that can be changed by advocacy. Currently, the allocation of these billions isn't optimal, leaving vast rooms for impact for charities that move the needle so the government budgets are spent more in line with global decarbonisation priorities. Climate change is a big issue, but just like Kurzgesagt, we're optimistic it will get solved. We do have to put in an effort to make sure that the worst effects won't happen. Our planet faces a range of issues that are all very pressing. This YouTube channel covers a lot of them, not just climate change. So subscribe to learn about more ways that we can move towards a happier world.
Hi, Jeroen here. This video has been in the works for over a month before Kurzgesagt's video was released. But when their video got released, we saw it had a huge overlap with ours, and they did a much better job. The only major difference is that we planned on talking about these effective charities. So we quickly rewrote the script to just focus on that and turn it into this response video instead. Still, if you would like to see that video, which had a bigger focus on the question whether or not to have children in light of climate change, let us know. A big thank you to Luke Freeman for hosting this video. Check out his YouTube channel too. I personally really liked their video on how you can help protect the future of humanity. If you like this video and you think it's important, share it with your friends. We've tried our best to explain everything as accurately as possible, but since we're human, there's a good chance we've made mistakes. If you noticed a mistake or disagree with something, let us know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching!